Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for our brief presentation. Our research study was titled Supplementing Traditional Musculoskeletal Anatomy Pedagogy with Brief Focused Yoga Sessions. This project was implemented by Dr. Kimberly Szucs and occupational therapy students Sudhee Acharya, Catherine Colpoys, Nicole Jones, and Emily Wright. The background that frames this study is that cadaver dissection is typically used to learn anatomy, as it is the traditional gold standard method. However, students can also benefit from a more active, intrinsic, and multimodal learning experience through engagement in yoga. Our research question was, what are students' experiences and perceptions of doing focused yoga practice for learning human gross anatomy?
Participants of this study were healthy-aged adults between the ages of 18 to 25 who were enrolled in the anatomy course at Duquesne University. All participants engaged in the study on a volunteer basis. Each week, participants received weekly handouts with body-specific yoga practice videos that aligned with course content. On these handouts are guided descriptions and anatomy image to connect yoga poses to the course content. Following each yoga practice, participants completed a series of reflections.
Guided handouts were given with each video. These guided handouts included objective and subjective questions. Of the objective anatomy questions on handouts, 78% of students correctly answered the anatomy question related to a yoga pose. Many reflection questions were questions related to using personal sensation or how a pose felt, and relating it to an anatomy concept. Quotes from participants showed that students were able to describe physical sensation felt while in a yoga pose in particular muscle groups that were being taught in a course lecture. Some of these quotes here include, "I enjoyed this stretch because I felt a pull along my back and connecting to my shoulder. I felt my quadriceps muscles really engaged to hold my weight more. I noticed that my dominant shoulder was tighter than my non-dominant hand, and I felt a lot of activation when I thought about pulling one hip back and the other hip forward." Students were also able to relate anatomical positions and positions in yoga poses to other occupations. For example, students related the anatomy of the yoga poses to activities including walking or hiking, stair climbing, sitting at a desk, or lifting something heavy. Students related these poses to particular movements as well as larger occupations.
Our results show that using body-specific yoga practice allowed students to contextualize the anatomy to occupation. This concept is important because this helps their carryover of learning. They were able to take the lecture content they learned and create new connections in their brain through the yoga practice. This will enhance the students' ability to draw upon that knowledge in their future as students and clinicians because they were able to make those real-life, real-world connections. One limitation of our study was that there was a low adherence rate because of the lack of face-to-face check-in points. The lack of in-person check-ins was due to the anatomy lectures being delivered in a hybrid fashion. The other main limitation of our study was because students may have been experiencing what we call Zoom fatigue. This could have decreased their motivation to continue to participate in this study. Based on our results, further studies should consider how to increase the participation in students. Further research should also look at working to establish a more thorough compilation of all the benefits that can be perceived and described from students who actively participated in yoga experiences to enhance their learning of anatomical concepts.
That concludes the overview of our study. Thank you to everyone for listening, and we look forward to answering your questions on April 14th.